So then we come to words like quantum. And what is this quantum that I'm hearing? I'm hearing about. I mean, I'm employing quantum, and I'd have to say that quantum, awareness and imagination, these are words, observation, these are words that connect us more to the quantum. The quantum is a field. And it's a field that really can't be understood by the mind. Not to say that the mind can't participate in the quantum. Oftentimes, a good way to access the quantum is to arrive at the 0 point. And essentially that's getting into a meditative state and allowing consciousness to just kind of fall away. Consciousness meaning thoughts and memories and the astral energies, allowing that to fall away, allowing that to just stand back and presencing oneself in a field that isn't part of the known. Even though, you might be sitting in a room that you know and that you're familiar with, when one drops into the quantum or welcomes into the quantum, it's going into the unknown. Being alert. So it takes practice to get into the quantum. You have to exercise these, the observation and the awareness, and I don't know how for imaginations, what that means for each individual. But the imagination is where I feel like the mind and its mechanics like branch off of or branch off into a world maybe that is quantum. Maybe that's didn't Einstein say imagination's more powerful than knowledge? And knowledge is a mindset. It's a mind-based word. So the imagination. So, based on that, the imagination leading one into the quantum. Quantum is energy available. That's what I feel like the quantum is. And the mind can't conceive how phenomenal that is, what that actually means, the energy available. And most often, my experience is that people are very cut off from this imaginative, because it's kind of like you have to be safe to imagine, like a child, it's a child lives in their fantasy or their imagination. And it's an invitation to the supernatural, to what's more in the 5 dimensions, or the 5th dimensional. That's what I meant to say. Because it's like through the imagination, we activate the third eye and see things, sense things that aren't to the visible eye. They're in the imagination. And the eyes are very much connected with the mind. So, what we see with our eyes generally gets, what would be the word? Interpreted by the mind. And then the mind is, for the most part, the mind is conditioned, which means that it's brainwashed, which means that it's not functioning with all of its conscious power, with all of its conscious awareness. So, we evolve, but the quantum is a place that I think I said once that it's where thoughts and energy can cooperate together. There's a cooperative element inside the quantum. But first you got to get in there to the 0 point where you really just let go of reality. And the 0 point is where magic happens. But I don't want to just it's important not to put that on a bookshelf, you get you get there and then the magic happens. I mean, magic's always happening, and that's life. Life's always happening. Life's magic. It's magical. And the quantum realm is where we meet our potential in a different way. It's more fluid and it is more supernatural. I do believe that we have supernatural powers, and many people already are accessing them, but it is through the quantum. You know, it's a more evolved realm, field of consciousness, I guess. That's how I describe it. And it has a lot of vitality in it and a lot of potential. That's where a lot of potential is stored, is in the quantum. And we are quantum beings. To drop in, you know, another way, I guess, to get into the quantum would to be to like focus on your dantian, or like some, you know, beneath the belly button, the sacral, or like just the hara, the solar plexus. Put your awareness there and breathe. And then it's just the awareness. Become aware of the energy in the space around you. Become aware of how the mind moves in energy, not mind. Like mind works in mind, but when mind is working in energy, then mind is more of a servant if you enter into it consciously. This is, you know, my experience of the quantum field is total. And I don't even, you know, I'm open to say that, yeah, there's so much more I have no idea about. And I'm excited about that. It's the only place I use my mind is inside the quantum. And it's also, too, where that mind that's being utilized is not being run by a personality. It's a higher octave. It's a higher connection, higher mind. Which after years of awareness and observation, the mind does unlatch itself from its significance. And so that's the beginning stages. You know, the mind has to realize it's not significant. And this becomes an invitation to one's more natural energies and presence, the correct flow. We have the correct flow is happening in our energy fields and our body mind mechanics. The quantum's there. There it is. I believe the quantum is a beautiful place to relate with one's environment. It's an exploration, and we can access this collective grid. We can access the grid of consciousness through the quantum, and the grid is basically like a communication board. And ideally, you know, quantum for me is about clearing the interference, getting the interference away from the communication systems that are active on this planet and my aura, in my relationships. And you know, when you're in the quantum, it's kind of implodes. It's not always this material manifestation necessarily. It's like an inner awakening. It's an inner awareness. It's another world. It's multidimensional. And one gets to perceive and know and feel things that are not of this world. And then, and we, you know, we can touch back in with the present moment and, you know, feel yourself sitting and breathing. And that's a nice way to just, you know, after, you know, the meditation or the opening and connecting it with the, you know, in the body experience. So my experience is that when we awaken and open up these channels, information comes in, and information conscious information, galactic information, spiritual information, psychic information. You know, there's so many talented healers and seers. And so, yeah, this is where they get to interact with the Akashic records. I guess it's 5D. 5D is quantum. And I don't have any dogma around this, but I hear that 5D is more real than 3D. And so, whatever that means. To have to lean on that meaning and to, situate myself within the meaning of stuff like that, it just keeps things stuck. So sure, I get it, but that's not this whole 5D, 3D thing. Isn't interesting. 3D, I guess, is going out into the world. It's seeing through the eyes and not necessarily closing the eyes and looking within. And that's going inward. They say that going inward is a greater journey than getting to the moon. Something like that. And so, I've been in the inward journey my whole life, and I've experienced galactic powers. And the thing about power, yeah, that's another video. Power. The thing about power. So that's how I would say the quantum is accessible. And everything's always accessible. It's just we have to drop the veils of our conditioned mind. And one way to do that is to, entertain the imagination, observe your awareness, your energy, and just have awareness of yourself and the environment, and it starts to open up things. And, if that already is open up in you, then there's a world accessible. And I feel like it's a creative one. The quantum field is ultimately very creative, and I don't know, I think it's a protected field. I don't think people have access to it. I think you have to pass a code to get into the quantum. I hope so. I hope so. Because great places, they deserve to be coveted, and it's not such a bad idea for people to have to somehow earn their way to get into great places. Like the national parks. I won't even. Yeah, so the planets, the sacred places on the planet. Anyway, the 3D, the what we can touch. Anyway, so it's all been had, and it keeps getting had, and that's perfectly fine. So, but that's for entertainment purposes. I mean, it's all for entertainment. But when we get to experience ourselves inside the quantum in a way that is galactic, and it does open us up to our supernatural powers. And I think everybody has unique supernatural powers. So yeah, the quantum frequency is everything. I mean, everything's frequency. It's just how you name it, how you feel it, how you sense it. Everything has a character. Everything has an archetype. The archetypal phenomena is cellular. And archetypes are words. And words make stories. So being in the quantum is where one of my talents is, undoing stories so that they don't exist. And all that energy that would go to the story can then just go to energy and other avenues of expression and awareness and gift. And yeah, everything's a story. Everything. Even the person sitting doing nothing, that's a story. And that's okay. I love the story. The story is the greatest access. For me as a healer, other people's stories is the greatest access into the quantum with them. It's like they give me their hand with their story, and I take that hand and I say, let's go. Let's go to the quantum. And I show them how to undo a story through conversation and the interaction and ultimately the relationship. On that note, let's dive back into the quantum. Enjoy yourself. Bye.